Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome to The Critter Guy Says. I am the Critter Guy. I'm a licensed animal damage control agent in the state of Maine, and sometimes I've got a lot of things to say about critters. Today, I have a lot of things to say about people in residential areas who feed squirrels. Not talking about, you have a bird feeder out and a couple of squirrels come and, that's good. You know who you are. You're the folks who go out and buy special corn holders that hold big ears of corn, and you buy peanuts or other nuts, and you put out fruit. Maybe you even make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the squirrels, and you have dozens of squirrels hanging around your yard that you've got names for them all, and sometimes they come up and they take bread out of your hand or nuts out of your hand or whatever, and you think it's great. And in the right setting, yeah, that's pretty cool. It can be a lot of fun. But if you live in a residential neighborhood, with on a busy street with, 10 or 12 houses in a block or something like that, you're really not doing your neighbors any favors. And I get a lot of calls from people, and I go out to their homes. They have problems with squirrels chewing holes in the soffits and moving into attic spaces, or actually living between the walls, which is really bad with some flying squirrels. They have seeds and nuts and bits of insulation and things like that stored in the engine blocks of their vehicles. Um, it's just basically creating a nuisance for your neighbors, and that's really not fair. A lot of times, these neighbors are going to resort to using poisons, which I'm an advocate of some rodenticides used in a responsible way, but a frustrated homeowner isn't always going to do things in the most responsible way. Sometimes they're going to throw these rodenticides right out on the lawn, and where they're going to be found by things like skunks and raccoons, and those animals are going to get sick and they're going to die. Kind of a slow, gruesome death because they're larger than squirrels and rats and mice, and it takes more of these rodenticides to kill them, so they end up suffering for hours on end. Um, and then, of course, uh, the squirrel's habit of storing food for the winter, that creates problems in and of itself also, because if you are feeding squirrels, they have far more food available to them than they should have available in the wild. And they are absolutely going to store the food that you give them along with the food that they can find in the wild, and they're never going to be able to eat all of that food that they store up. But it's in their nature to store that food. They're going to store as much as they possibly can, and then other things are going to come along and they're going to find that food, and other animals are going to come along and find the things that eat that food, and before you know it, you've got a problem. You've got skunks living under people's homes. You've got raccoons living under people's homes. And you've got people that just aren't comfortable having wild animals in their yards and in their neighborhoods. Um, and more often than not, people do have those animals in their neighborhoods, but they are not finding, huge sources of food like they will where somebody has, a squirrel feeding station or even a feral cat feeding station. Those are bad too. We'll talk about that in another time. Right now, let's focus on the squirrels. Why are squirrels such a bad thing? Well, they're rodents, and rodents absolutely have to chew. It's their nature. Their front teeth grow continuously, and if they don't chew things to wear down those front teeth, they can cause some real serious oral health problems for them and end up ultimately killing them. Um, so, what are squirrels going to chew? Well, your neighbor's house, your house. I see a lot of homes, mostly, for elderly folks who may not notice what's happening, where the squirrels have chewed holes under their eaves, and they've moved into the house. They live in the walls. They live in the ceiling. They live in the attic spaces, and they just don't go away. They breed in there. They destroy the insulation in your home. So it's just not a good idea to feed these squirrels. Um, your neighbors are often the ones who have these squirrels living in their walls. They're the ones who have these squirrels living in their sheds. They're the ones that are out there finding big clumps of nesting material or stored seeds in their engine blocks, and they're paying hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to get these damages repaired, and it can all be prevented just by not feeding squirrels. You know, it's tough when you enjoy doing something, but you've gotta draw the line somewhere. Um, if you want to feed squirrels, the responsible way to do it would be to, you know, get a few squirrels used to coming around. I don't recommend doing this because squirrels can bite. It's not a smart idea to hand feed wildlife, and I know some of you are going to insist on doing it. But no matter how much they, seem to beg and plead and chatter and scratch on your windows and whatever, looking for more food, looking for more food, looking for more food, they're absolutely going to do that because, again, they have to find as much food as they possibly can get and store away for the winter. And if there's a squirrel in your yard in the first place, chances are there's a natural food source there. So if you really want to feed them, start out in midsummer when the baby squirrels are now becoming adults, and put out a few, a pound or so of peanuts. Let them get used to coming around, and then draw back the amount of food that you put out for those squirrels. They're absolutely not going to starve to death, but they're still going to come around, and some of them are still going to be somewhat dependent on you, which, putting it bluntly, that's what you're doing. You're creating animals that are dependent on you. And if for some reason you stop abruptly, they have to go somewhere else. And they are not as used to foraging. They're used to handouts. Not so much with squirrels. Squirrels, they're opportunists. They find everything. But you're not supposed to have a couple dozen squirrels running around your yard. You're just not. It opens up things for, there's a disease called squirrel pox, which is pretty unpleasant for them. Their fur falls out, and they get scabs, and they wind up in the rehabilitators shelter, and the rehabilitators spend hundreds of dollars caring for these little guys. And it's not a good idea to have a bunch of animals grouped together. That's not how nature works. Okay, squirrels are their role in the ecosystem is to plant seeds and to feed carnivores, or omnivores. That's their job. When there are too many squirrels, then you get too many carnivores and omnivores. You get too many things that want to eat squirrels, and it just snowballs. And when you start dealing with the larger animals like skunks and raccoons and foxes, and they're in a residential area and they're breeding prolifically, then those animals are the ones that are going to start getting sick. Those are the animals that are going to start getting rabies and distemper and parvovirus. And those are the animals that are going to get mange. And it's just not a good thing for the ecosystem to feed wildlife, especially a major source of the food chain itself. You're not supposed to have, hundreds of squirrels available. They're supposed to be preyed upon and eaten, but if they're living in somebody's house, they're not being preyed on. They're breeding, and their offspring are moving out, and that's what's creating these large populations of squirrels in neighborhoods. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but it absolutely does contribute to a lot of problems, not just financial problems or, physical damage to homes and everything, but it does move right on up to the food chain. So it's just a little something else to think about. I apologize for rambling on, but this is only my second video for YouTube. I hope to have a lot more. And as I fall into a stride, I'll be a little less long-winded. Eventually I'm going to learn how to edit videos and whatnot. I certainly hope that you come here to learn just as I learn how to streamline my videos. I'm hoping that we're going to share a long history, not a long history, but I'm hoping we have a long future of learning. If you have questions and comments, certainly leave them down below. I'll try to respond to as many as I can, and I would like to think that you're learning something from here, and certainly click that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Actually, I hate it when YouTubers say that. I won't see you next time. I'll never see you. I'm on a camera. You'll see me, but I won't see you. And I just dropped my phone. Bye.